Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to rank all of the main trial victims. Yeah, I mean, pretty simple. Let's just get straight into it. But first, I want to give some honourable mentions to some of like the other people that you kill that aren't really considered like mainline trial victims. Like, you know, the bootleg Futterman guy. I think he has a fun outfit. I think he looks kind of funny, and he has a pretty quick death. You know, he's one of the lucky ones, honestly. Drill in the back end and he's just dead. You got the trash compactor guy. I kind of feel bad for that guy, man. Like, that's just horrible. Like, I want to know like how long he's been in that trash compactor, and it's just it looks so claustrophobic. And then actually getting crushed would obviously be horrible. And final honourable mention that I want to give is to the dude in Spread the Disease. Man, he had it rough. He had it rough. Dying like that is just horrible. That is just horrible. How did the devs even think of that, bro? One more thing that I want to say is that Fun Park doesn't have a trial victim unless you count like the wooden children that you push into the grinder as trial victims. I'm just not going to rank Fun Park. For my 10th space, it's going to go to the mules from Poison the Medicine. I think the mules are kind of they're a bit forgettable, honestly. And I think the main reason why they're the lowest is because like it's really hard to actually hear their voice lines, you know, because you know you're cutting them open and stuff. Their voice lines are just so rare, you barely hear them. I think they do have cool voice lines though, because they talk about how they were like once free agents. I think they like reference like the arm wrestling mini game, which is pretty cool. Their actual death is pretty gross. I mean, all the deaths are gross, but you're like cutting them open and stashing stuff in them. It's pretty gross to look at. But overall, I just don't have much to say on these guys. I always just forget these guys exist. It's just that I think they should talk more often. But again, like they can't really talk more often because you know they're getting cut open. But I want to see more personality from them, basically. Yeah, that is a common theme you're probably gonna notice is if like the trial victim doesn't have many voice lines or the voice lines aren't very interesting, then they're probably gonna be low. But I am, you know, ranking like the way they die as well. Like, is it cool? Well, cool's not the right word to use for, you know what I mean. Like, is it like a gruesome death? These guys' death is pretty good, but I think there are better deaths. It is pretty messed up that I'm like ranking how interesting their deaths are, but whatever. So next up, I actually have the district attorney from Pleasure the Prosecutor. This one might be a little surprising, maybe. As I said before, I like when trial victims actually have voice lines, and this guy just doesn't have any. Because he's like gagged, he's got like this, you know, he's got all of the weird stuff on him. He's got like the gimp stuff on him, right? But I kind of wish he had some voice lines. It would have been cool. The way he dies, though, I think it's a little goofy, honestly. Like, it is definitely unique, I guess. Getting killed by assassin mannequins. He gets his pee-pee drilled off, and then both his arms chopped off, and then his head. Which, yeah, it looks pretty painful, especially because it's like it's prolonged and it goes on for quite a long time. Because you're literally doing this whole mini game. So he has it rough for sure. But there's honestly just not much I can say with this guy. Like, the fact that he doesn't have any voice lines kind of ruins it for me. And also, as I said, I do think his death is a little goofy. I think it lacks a lot of impact, if you know what I mean. You know, like, I think it's hard to believe that these mannequins would really be doing like this much damage. Okay, so next up, in the 8th spot, I actually have Bootleg Jesus from Cleanse the Orphanage. Again, with this guy, he does have voice lines, but they're just kind of rare, and he's quite quiet. When I first played this trial, well, actually for a long time, I actually thought this guy was actually a woman, but he kind of just sounds like a woman. I don't know, I thought that was something I'd mention. But the voice acting is very good for him. When you're chopping his legs off, it is like, his screams are like, you know, like it feels very real. And as for the actual kill, like, yes, it is brutal. All you're doing is chopping his legs off, but it's just like it just goes on for so long, and you're obviously doing it manually as well. And there's like the sound effects too, with like the crunching, and like it is bad. Especially with the fact too that like rarely enemies will attack you. Well, except for this pusher attacked me when I was doing it. But this is rare. Usually you're on your own when you're doing it. And so the game sort of forces you to focus on what's happening. Because there's usually no threat. So you're completely focused on this guy's legs getting chopped off. So, you know, it is a brutal kill. But I think what's just going to put it down is, at the end of the day, all we really did was just chop his legs off and he died. And also, he just doesn't have that many voice lines, and I think he could add a little more personality. Or at least just make his voice lines more common. That is something that I think a lot of trial victims suffer from, where they do have voice lines, but they're a bit rare. So in 7th place, I have the Snitch from Kill the Snitch. This guy's good. He's like the default trial victim, if you know what I mean. I think he's like the most memorable that everyone remembers, because he's like the first one. And he's good. He's just good. He kind of does everything well, but he doesn't like excel in any areas, if you know what I mean. His death is like pretty basic. You just electrify him, but I mean, it's still pretty brutal. Like, you literally cook him. Like, you're basically, if you think about it, while you're pulling the lever and electrocuting him, you're basically cooking him. I like how when you first enter the trial, you can see him being tortured by Coil on like the TVs and stuff. I think this is really cool. It adds to like the theming of the trial and stuff. I think it's nice. I think his voice lines are a little basic, but I think that makes sense, right? Because he is literally the first trial victim. Something I do like though is I think he progressively gets angrier at you as the trial goes along. Like, he starts off sort of like pleading you, and then by the end he's just sort of cursing you out and just like, what are you doing, man? Like, this isn't gonna save you and stuff like that. I think that's cool that he like progressively gets more angry. It's realistic, right? It's also like implied that he's probably a reagent, and I think like the majority of these trial victims are just reagents. I also really like that he has Snitch carved onto his chest. It's kind of messed up. I'm guessing that Coil did that. While on the topic of Coil, something I want to talk about is Coil seems to have like a weird like obsession with the Snitch. Like, I heard a voice line which compared him to his wife. Like, he was saying that the Snitch reminded him of his wife. Like, I don't know, man. Coil seems to really like the Snitch. You know, he's like, well, while you're cooking him as well, he's like, that is my man's asshole, or something like that. He says something like that. I don't know, I think it's funny. I like when prime assets actually interact with the trial victim. Yeah, so overall, the Snitch is just a good trial victim, but I just don't think he like excels particularly in any area, if you know what I mean. Up next, I have the Politician from Kill the Politician. This guy's death is pretty horrible, and it's like weirdly comedic as well, with like how you're literally using like water guns to like melt him. It's pretty horrible, and like you literally see his clothes melt off, and then it goes into his skin, and then his skin melts off. It's horrible. Just watching him slowly deteriorate over the course of his execution it's pretty horrible. It's pretty horrible. All these deaths are horrible. It's hard to compare them. I like his outfit. His outfit's very unique. Usually, like, the trial victims are kind of just like people with bags over their heads. But this time around, like, he's in like the Uncle Sam outfit, which is like the American propaganda guy, I think. It's unique. It's a unique look, which I think is cool. A cool little detail actually while the execution is taking place. It's that if you look closely at him, his arms are actually like moving around like a puppet. Like, his arms are on strings, and I think this is just supposed to represent how the Crest twins are sort of using him, at least in like the story, the artificial story of the trial, if you know what I mean. I think it's a cool detail. Like, he's being used and puppeted by the Crest twins. Something that I don't like about the Politician is that it's another case of where like you just don't get to hear much of his voice lines. I think the voice lines that he does have though, like, apparently he speaks about like the Crest twins and stuff, which is great. When trial, as I said before, when trial victims actually interact with the prime assets, or at least like talk about them, I think it's great. I think it gives them extra points, you know, like when they call out for them for help. I don't think the Politician does that, but I think he actually just talks about how he thinks the Crest twins are gross and stuff, which, yeah, valid, but I would have liked to hear more voice lines from him, you know, or at least not more voice lines, but I want to hear him speak more often. I know I keep saying that I want to hear the trial victims speak more often, which, you know, is kind of dumb because these trial victims are literally being tortured, so it's kind of hard for them to speak. But I think you guys get what I'm trying to say. Like, I want to, some of these trial victims, I want to get more personality out of them. I want to hear them speak more. I want to learn more about them. Next up is the Union boss from Liquidate the Union, and I think he doesn't suffer that much from that whole issue I was just talking about. Because with him, he's kind of like the snitch where you're sort of pushing him along the whole trial. And so, you know, you get to actually hear him speak a lot, which I think is great. The way he dies is pretty horrible. You literally drown him in like human juice, basically. So this guy's literally being drowned in blood, guts, and probably like poop and stuff. Which, it's horrible. That is just horrible. And there's also the fact that, like, even though it's probably not very painful, it's just more like the psychological aspect of it, where like you're just slowly waiting to drown. And like the voice lines are always good for these, for like every Outlast character, but like whoever did the voice acting for the Union boss does a really good job. But like there's bits where the guy's literally just going, kill me, like just screaming in like the tube. It's pretty horrible. It's like he can't take the anticipation. It's just like, end it, please, just end it. I think he calls out to Franco for like help and stuff, which is great. This guy's also like not butt naked, so I think he's going to get extra points for that as well. Like, he's in a nice little suit, you know. I think it's good to have like a break from cock and balls all the time, you know. I think it's actually implied that the Union boss isn't a reagent like most of the other trial victims, and he probably worked for Murkoff. And I think this obviously makes him more unique, because I'm pretty sure like the vast majority of these trial victims are reagents. Like he has a voice line where he literally says like the way he's gonna die. He mentions how he's gonna drown in blood. So he literally knows how the trial works. So he probably does work for Murkoff. He also mentions that he has kids, which also makes killing him feel a lot worse too. Okay, I think we're now getting into like the really, really good trial victims. These like 4 I think are like really close. And next up in 4th place, I do have The Lot from Despoil the Auction. I'm pretty sure this is our first female victim on the list. It's nice to have some more diversity, I guess. I mean, Red Barrels seem to be obsessed with PP mutilation, so yeah, I'm looking at you, Eddie Gluskin. Her death is like horrible. She literally just gets pulled apart basically, and it takes so long too. Being in her position must be horrible. She has a voice on which she literally just says, "Just break my neck, just like end it now," basically. Which, like, it's just such a horrible concept that like she knows she's gonna die, and she's just like. So she just wants it to be over now, just end it now. It's just a horrible concept. Something interesting about her, what makes her unique, is that at the start of the trial, there's actually like a reagent in the room with her that's like sort of comforting her, which is really interesting. We don't really have like a interaction like that with any of the other trial victims. The other reagent in there seems to be like a friend. The trial victim in this one is also probably a reagent, so like these were probably both reagents at some point together. And the other reagent is like trying to comfort her, and apparently her name's Dawn, which the other reagent calls her, so I'm guessing that's her actual name. And yeah, like the other reagent's like trying to comfort her and stuff, and saying like, we're gonna get all this together, Eastman's gonna help us. It also just seems that like the other dude and the other reagent like genuinely seems to care about Dawn, which is it's really sad. And then obviously the other reagent gets killed by Lilia. Personally think the reagent was purposely put there to be killed by Lilia, because if you actually look at the window, there's like already like dried blood on it. So what I'm thinking is Easterman probably put the reagent there to be killed. Our trial victim Dawn also mentions Lilia a lot. And she talks about how like Lilia is trying to get into her head and stuff like that, which again is going to give her extra points. So yeah, overall very, very good trial victim. She's quite unique, and her death is horrible, and it looks so painful. Alright, the top 3 now, and I honestly really wanted to put her higher, but I'm going to go with the judge from Vindicate the Guilty. She's one of my favourite trial victims, man. Like, her death is just... Oh, it's kind of quick depending on if you're able to do it quickly. I mean, usually Coil's gonna like kick you off the like levers like 2 or 3 times, so she's probably gonna be sitting in that chair with her arms broken. Basically, she's like in this chair and it like slowly rises, and like these hammers go at her legs first and break them, and then at her arms and break her arms. And then finally she gets hanged, and then 2 hammers come at her head. It's bad. It's really bad. Super brutal death, and I think it's really memorable. One of the more memorable ones. Her voice actor does a really good job too. I really like her whole personality. Like she seems like a lot more aggressive compared to a lot of the other trial victims. She's constantly like cussing the reagents out and stuff. And I also love how she's just going, all right, you're not guilty, not guilty. She's sort of like playing into the role and just hoping that maybe she'll be let go because of it. Like just showing how desperate she is. She speaks about Coyle a lot too, where she like calls to him and stuff, and there's even a voice line where she just goes, police, police. She is just a very solid trial victim, and I think she works like really, really well, especially because like you're seeing her like throughout the trial. I think this is something that I should have mentioned like way earlier, but trial victims that you're like constantly encountering like throughout the entire trial, because some of the trial victims you only see them at the end, you know, like I'm thinking like Bootleg Jesus and the Mules, right? But with the judge, like you're constantly coming back to the courtroom and seeing her and hearing her speak. I think this is good. Alright, we're getting close. Second place goes to the Deviant from Pervert the Futterman. Yeah, you guys probably expected this guy to be high up because his death is just, I think like it's infamous, right? I think everyone remembers it because of how horrible it is. I'm someone that personally plays with nudity filter on because, you know, I make content on this game and I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. But I've played this trial a lot, but I didn't realise like this guy gets mutilated. Like absolutely mutilated. And I mean, you know, like down below. Oh my god, it's horrible. I know like I put the district attorney low because he also gets his, you know, pee-pee chopped off, but I feel like it lacks a lot of impact. But this one, like, it doesn't really. And I was so surprised when I found out. I was like, out of curiosity, I was like, wait, why does everyone say this is such a gross trial? And I like turned a nudity filter on and realised, like, oh my god, it's just a horrible trial, man. I know it's really messed up, literally praising the game for like chopping penises off, but like, whatever. Like when you put him through the machine, like his screams are like, they're probably like the worst screams in the game, honestly. Like they're so visceral sounding. Like it genuinely sounds like he is in agony, and it just sounds like, oh, it just sounds horrible. If you don't know what happens to him, basically he gets put through one machine, which covers him in like hot wax, which is already horrible, right? I mean, I don't know what it feels like to be covered in wax, but it must not feel good. Especially because he's completely butt naked as well. Basically, throughout the entire trial, he's being turned into like a human doll. And I don't mean the ones that kids play with. And then at the end, he gets burnt alive, which, yeah, that's literally the perfect cherry on top. Burning to death is like universally seen as one of the worst ways to die. So not only does all that happen, but he gets burnt alive at the end. So yeah, this guy has it rough. Another reason why I find this guy why I like him a lot, seems to have quite a sad backstory if you really pay attention to things. It seems like he's been taken advantage of his whole life because throughout the entire trial, his voice signs are all sort of like suggesting that he sees himself only as like a toy, really. Like he only wants to be used, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I'm gonna go into like kind of uncomfortable topics here. I don't want to dwell on it too long, but I think it does make his character like really interesting, and I do like genuinely feel bad for this guy. Because it feels like he's been taken advantage of like his entire life. And he just sees himself as an object. I think it's also implied that Mother Gooseberry uses him for her own purposes, if you know what I mean. Which is also, again, like, kind of sad. Like, and it's also like really messed up. Like, I feel bad for this guy. Another thing that makes him unique is that he's a lot more calm compared to all the other trial victims. As I said, he probably has like the most horrific death out of all of these trial victims, but his actual attitude towards it, he's kind of like egging it on, you know, and he's like hyping himself up, like, oh yeah, I could do it, and he's also, you know, it seems like he's getting off to it as well, which is strange. But I personally think that he's not actually getting off to it, and he's sort of just saying that he is. I highly doubt that he enjoys private parts being taken off. So yeah, overall, like, I think he's honestly like a really tragic character, and I feel bad for him. And he has such a horrific death. He is just, yeah, he's a very memorable trial victim. Okay, last but obviously not least, it's gonna go to the idol, aka Bob or Eric, whatever you want to call him. I think this one was obvious, right? I think after this new, after this new TV station, studio, whatever trial came out, like Bob was one of the more memorable aspects of this trial. And I honestly think like he's probably the only trial victim that like genuinely elevates a trial, because he's like that good. Like I honestly play this trial just for him. Honestly, if Bob was not as interesting in this trial, I think TV studio wouldn't be as good. But yeah, his death it's long and it's brutal. It's kind of like the Deviant's death, which I was just talking about. Obviously not as brutal, but it's kind of like that, where you're like his death is like really long and you're just bringing him to different areas and torturing him basically. He first gets a spotlight blown up in his face. After that, he gets put on a cooking show and gets his hand chopped off by a cleaver. Obviously not good. Then after that, he gets his eye gouged out with a drill. Finally, you saw him in half, and then he gets replaced with a mannequin, which it's a crazy death. This guy just goes on a roller coaster ride of pure shit. Now, as for Bob himself, this is where it gets interesting, because he actually has like a lot of character compared to some of the other trial victims. It's actually implied that Bob is he seems like he has some mental disability of some sorts, and that's probably like a big reason why he's even in the trials to begin with, which is just really sad, right? It all already just makes you feel bad for him. Eric is like probably the most sympathetic trial victim, you know. It just feels so bad killing him, 'cause, like, he's like the most innocent. He never like tries to cuss you out or anything. Because a lot of the trial victims, I mean, naturally they're getting angry at you and calling you names and stuff, right? But this guy, like, he seems just so innocent. Like, I think he honestly has some of the best voice lines like in the entire game too. Like I love when you get him in like the final studio and he's like on that like talk show and the mannequin's like asking him questions and Eric just replies by just squealing.
Maybe Bob can tell you a little bit about our sponsor.
It's like he can't even speak anymore. He's just resorting to just squealing like an animal. It's kind of messed up. And there's like some funny ass lines where like, it was in one of my other videos where like the mannequin asks,
Bob, why is it you think there are so many stray dogs in Cuba?
it's like really comedic, but also like just so messed up at the same time. The voice acting too, I always go on about the voice acting in this game. The voice acting in this game, like across the board, it's like 10 out of 10. I think again another thing that makes him good is what I said before, with how like you spend a lot of time with Bob and you're forced into a lot of situations where you have to listen to his voice lines, you know, like while you're doing like the puzzles and stuff. Which again, I just think this is great. I like spending time with the trial victims. I want to learn more about them. I want to hear them speak. I want to know what they're thinking. So yeah, that was the ranking. I hope you enjoyed. I had a lot of fun making this video because I was like, I played each trial once for this video, at least most of them, to get footage and to like hear the trial victims' voice lines. And I also like did some research too into like their backstories and stuff. So it was pretty fun learning some more facts about them, and I hope that you also learnt some new facts about the trial victims. So yeah, tell me in the comments who you think is the best trial victim, who you think is the worst, you know, what take did you not agree with, what would you change about the list. Yeah, so if you enjoyed, check out my other videos, and yeah, see you in the next one. Bye!